All right. Other thing I want to talk about coming out of the Art Rooney presser the other day, or the Art Rooney media session the other day, was Matt Canada. He pretty much said, the reason we kept Matt Canada was because of Kenny Pickett. The exact words here, I'm trying to find them. No, nope, I'm too far down here. I have the transcript in front of me for you guys thinking that I'm just staring into nothing. So he was asked if the improvement on offense specifically was the reason that the team decided to stick with Matt Canada for another season. Rooney responded, "Yeah, I think so. I think we all like to see the improvement. With a rookie quarterback, they seem to work well together. They built a good working relationship. To sort of start over again with a new offensive coordinator could wind up back in the same situation again, where the first half of the season you're breaking in a new OC. So we just felt like there's enough there to build on that. We want to continue to keep that group together." Two things here. One, that's just a terrible excuse. And two, it certainly did sound like there was a lot of, maybe we all overreacted about Matt Canada. It certainly sounded to me like the Steelers were as iffy on Matt Canada as the rest of us were this entire season. But they, like I just said, they have a terrible excuse to keep him. They've just decided that that's the reason to keep him, because we talked about it before. Like, okay, if it doesn't work out this season, so you're just willing to take 2 years off instead of a half of a season. Just that one doesn't make sense to me, but that's what he said.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the rationale behind it, I don't I'm not on board with the reasoning. We talked at length about that last week. I still just think that you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I think that you're
Huge
going to end up
disappointment.
in the same spot this time next year, but ultimately they're leaning on familiarity and trying to continue some of that trajectory that they finished the season with. My One of my biggest concerns, I brought this up last week too, is just making sure that we're not settling with decisions like this. And I think that that's ultimately what's happening. The thing that concerns me is I think some of those game-winning drives late, to beat Baltimore, to beat the Raiders, ended up kind of securing his job when I definitely think finishing the season 7-2 or whatever they finish is definitely something to build on.
Yeah.
It's just you look at the quarterbacks they faced in the second half of the season. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I'm just being realistic about how to look at it and play anybody.
No, dude, they didn't
They
play
got
anybody
really
at all
lucky.
the second half of the season.
You look at just the guys that they played, like some of the better quarterbacks they played during that stretch. Andy Dalton probably won't be a starter next year.
What
Derek
do you mean
Carr,
probably wouldn't be a starter He won't be a starter next year.
I didn't think he was going to be a starter this year, but
He
yeah, I
was
mean,
competing with Jameis Winston.
yeah,
That
I
was
mean, he's not going to be he's not going to be a starter next year. Derek Carr's not, he got benched shortly after. He's going to be a
yeah,
starter next year, but like obviously he's not,
yeah.
a top 10 guy or anything like that. You look at the guys that they played. It's I guess what I'm trying to say is squeaking out those like 16-13 or 20-16 victories is good. And I think you can learn things from those wins. And it's always better to win ugly than lose in pretty fashion. But at the same time, it's like, next year, you're not, I mean, I don't think you're going to have the opportunity to play Tyler Huntley twice. I don't think
No.
you're going to have the opportunity to play, Marcus Mariota down the stretch, like those type of guys. So I
Dude, down the
think,
stretch, you could even look week 1. You're not going to have the opportunity to play Joe Burrow 4 days removed from appendix
yeah.
surgery.
So
Like,
I mean, there's that aspect of it, but we'll see how it plays out, man. I mean, I think we've exhausted a lot of time and energy into Matt Canada stuff, and I mean, it is what it is. He's coming back, and I know like he's a real controversial person because the offensive coordinator always is, but I am hopeful that at least the working relationship between him and Pickett, they'll have a full offseason to figure out what each of them liked last year and how
yeah.
they can continue to build on the offense. We talked last week. Would love to see more play action. And stuff like that. So we'll see if anything changes, especially like once we fill out the rest of the roster and see kind of who's going to be involved or what changes they make. But, overall, bring back the offensive coordinator. You got the entire offense coming back. It's a lot of continuity and a lot of youth. So we'll see how much, upside or development there is with that group.
We'll see. We'll see. You always try to finish that off with every time you talk about Matt Canada. By the end of it, you're just like trying to get some positivity out there.
I try, man. I do my best. I do my best.
What I wanted to go off of that with is that he was also asked about a Brian Flores type position, a senior assistant on offense, and he said, "I wouldn't take it off the table." And to me, that's the perfect situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that they're actually considering it because if Kenny Pickett or if Matt Canada doesn't work out, you don't want to take that risk of having to reset with an offensive coordinator. Best way to do that is not to go replace him with your quarterbacks coach who hasn't been an OC in 10 years. The best way to do that is to have a Brian Flores like guy in the building, somebody with experience, have them, work together. And then if it doesn't work out, you get rid of Matt Canada. You already have a guy in place for the season after because they wouldn't fire Matt Canada in the middle of the season. It just won't happen.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't work out and you got to replace him at the end of the season, there's no transition there. It's just, hey, here, let's work with whoever. The name that comes to mind, obviously, is Byron Leftwich. Is that a move that makes sense for the Steelers? Is it a bad idea considering he had a bad season with the Buccaneers? Or, you just look at it like that would make a lot of sense?
I don't really particularly have strong feelings either way. I mean, I think in general, anytime you can add experienced coaches, and I would consider Leftwich at this point,
definitely
because he's worked under, BA was one of the most respected guys around the league. So I mean, I think having that experience of working with BA, he has a relationship with Tomlin, considering he played here for several years. I'm for it if that's what ends up, taking place. I don't know what Leftwich's plans are. I don't know that he's going to get another offensive coordinator job this cycle. But we don't really know that because there's still so many open jobs available. So who ends up filling the head coaching vacancies? What links do they have to their potential coordinator spots?
Yeah, true.
We probably won't know that for a couple weeks. Now, I don't think this is going to be a Flores situation where, you're
you're not
months
going to
into
get
the off season, and
then
it's not going to be like that. But Leftwich will find a home somewhere. I'm not opposed to adding another guy with play calling experience. I do think that he was at least partially at fault with some of the stuff last year. Some of the comments that he was making after some of those Bucs performances on offense were really
I actually didn't hear any of those.
Eye-opening to me. Yeah, just like I remember one, and I don't want to. I'm gonna end up misquoting it because I don't know the exact.
Everybody take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah, but it was basically they asked him about the lack of play action in their offense, and he was talking about how they couldn't run the ball, and like analytically, we know that does not matter. Like you don't have to be a dominant running team to be a good play action team. Does it help? Absolutely, it helps to have a great back there and a strong running game to lean on. Teams do that every year, but you don't necessarily need a dominant run game to incorporate a play action pass game. It's just not analytically or statistically proven anymore. So that was just like one of those things like, dude, it's 2022. Like, how the hell are we still doing this?
Yeah. What are we doing?
But yeah, I mean, I like Leftwich. I think he's a good dude. And I'm all about, we looked at, we can talk about Tomlin's lack of a coaching tree or whatever, however, but they've never been in a situation where I feel like their coaching staff's just been flat out bad. And I don't think that I'm quite there right now either.
No.
But you look at how people, I think, dismiss how important that is. You look at Denver this past season, they're probably the best litmus test for needing experienced, like qualified, proven coaches on the staff in order for things to work. Go look at Nathaniel Hackett's staff.
Dude, it was all first-year guys.
All first-year guys, just guys with no track record, no proven ability to do it at this level. And like you saw things, it got off to a bumpy start and then it just fell off the rails. And I think that that's something that, you avoid situations like that when you got guys in the building that have done it at least at a high level. Leftwich, it was definitely BA's offense. I mean, even last year they were running BA stuff for the most part. I felt like. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not one to dive into the all 22 weekly for the Bucks for no reason, but there's a lot of the same stuff schematically, and BA has done that at a high level for a long time. So incorporating some new ideas, maybe bringing some stuff over from BA and putting it in this offense, I don't think that that's a bad idea whatsoever. It's just I don't know how the coaching carousel stuff's going to play out and where he could potentially land.
No, I don't either. And I think that's a wait and see type situation. It would not be today or tomorrow or next week or whatever. But I also don't know if anybody's going to be hollering to Byron Leftwich to be like, hey, come coach, come be our OC, come be our whatever.
He may have to settle for something other than
that's
OC.
what I'm saying. He might be in a situation where the Steelers call him and say, hey, look at man, like, you want to come help regroup this offense, sit a year with a young quarterback, hopefully prove yourself. And, you could be the next Brian Flores who's getting offers, because that's the thing. Like we've talked about this before. You take a year off of football, no matter what it is, like Cliff Kingsbury going to Thailand, the smartest thing you could do, because in a year and 2 years, people will totally forget it. He will get one ridiculous offer from somewhere and he'll be a head coach again. That's just what happens in the NFL. And I think
Byron the Steelers benefit from that,
and they do exactly.
So I'm definitely down for, that situation playing itself out like that.
Yeah, me too. And I think it felt good to finally like hear it from Rooney's mouth to kind of feel like, okay, this isn't a bunch of fans or people on the radio or whatever, spilling out ideas. It's like, oh, they'll consider it. They actually will consider it. Yeah, I think that's huge.